We are up to 1819. And as you saw, this is a doozy.
Right.
In the sense that when I prepared this with Ken, we could not come up with anything. Yeah, now that doesn't mean that we won't come up with anything here, but it's a tough one. So brace yourselves. Okay, so it's even hard to translate. Nifsha mikirias oz umidyanim, which is the ksiv, the kri, midyanim, kivriach armon. How would you render that?
I don't know what most of the word means.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
The brother of the one who does sin.
Okay, close. A brother who is nifsha.
Oh, who's sinned?
Who is sinned against, right? Okay, or let's say offended. Okay, because pesha usually translates as offense. Okay, offense could mean, it could be like a criminal offense, or it could be like a negligent offense. Because we use pshia for both, right? Like poshea is like a willful, rebellious sinner, and also a negligent person. So a brother who is offended, mi kiryas oz.
From the city of strength.
Yeah. So here I would do the mem as a then.
Whoa. Wow.
Right? Because I don't think the city's offending him. You could say that, but I don't.
What is it? The brother.
So it means it's missing a word.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So a brother who is offended. Okay. Then a city of strength. Okay. Umidyanim.
And the quarrel.
Yeah, and quarrels. Did we ever resolve whether it's quarrelers or quarrel?
I think we translated it as both.
Yeah. So let's say quarrels.
Bracket ER.
Quarrelers. Yeah. Right. Right. I'm just going to do it slash. Okay. Quarrels. Keep briach armon. Now briach armon we don't know. Okay, so we have to. Armon you might know.
Is that like a river?
No.
Is that purple?
Argamon is what you're thinking.
It's like a trickster.
No. Is that you're assuming it comes to like Ramai or something?
Yeah.
Armon is a palace.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Free association.
Yeah. It means my mother. Okay. So if you look at the Metzudas Sion, Metzudas Sion says briach is hukein makel mesimim larochav hadelas lasagro. So if you could get the description there, so it is like a makel, like a staff that they place on the width of the door to close it. What are you picturing here?
Like when you want to like bar the door and have it like.
Yeah. What do you call that thing?
A room.
In a palace, or I guess it's not in a palace, in a fortified city.
I don't know. What's
the
It's a bolt.
Oh,
You bolt the door, right?
sense.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So it's like plain shot. Oh, and then armon is a heichal melech, right? So plain shot is like a palace bolt. Okay. So that's how we'll translate it for now. Okay. So that's the Metzudas Sion.
A lot of missing words.
Yeah, a lot of missing words. Okay. So you have Sadigon, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So he says, Achim nifshu. Does yours say? Oh, interesting. Oh yeah, yours says in the footnote, Zemizeh, brothers who are wronged from one another. Bikirias Bikirias oz in a fortified city. Umidyanim atsumim kivriach armon, and powerful quarrels like a palace bolt.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Even worse.
That's even worse, yeah. And Targum, I did not get a chance to look up this morning. Let's just see if we can get anything out of it, and then if not, we'll be lazy and not look at it. Acha demis ave min achui. So I think that means a brother who's wrong from a brother, which is interesting because that's also how Sadigon said it, right? Brothers who wrong one another. Kirisa ashinta is like a strong city. The achara and after.
This is achada.
Yours says achada. Interesting. So I'm going to go ahead and assume that Torah's Chaim is more correct than the Ala Torah, and I'll send a thing. Well, Torah's Chaim. The achara heich sochara dechusas. Now we're just going to ignore that for now. we'll go to that if we need to. All right. Let me just now tell you the art scroll and the living knock on the altar, just to get some words that make sense. Better, art scroll says better a wronged brother than a fortified city. So that's getting it entirely from the mem, the mem of comparison. And though they quarrel, they are like a palace bolt. So they add in though, okay? Living Knox says a wrong brother is better than a stronghold, okay? So again, that's adding in the better. for their quarrel is like the bolt of a palace.
Huh.
So that's like almost opposite, right? Because the first one is saying, even though they quarrel, they are like a palace bolt, which seems to be like the opposite of the quarreling. Whereas because their quarrel is like the bolt of a palace, then that's like explanatory. And then Alter says a brother wronged is like a fortress city. So he does not say the better, he just says it's like. So I don't know what he does with the mem. And strife like the bolt of a palace. Yeah. All right, so we got to figure out what to do here. Given now that we've seen all the translations, is there another translation that seems more intuitive? Like, do you think it's like, would you translate anything differently? Ah, nifsha mikirias os. I mean, I see where they're getting the better from. I mean, just because I don't know how else you read the mem, you know?
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. All right. So let me add that in here. So a brother. Let's see. And you know, I also like the word wronged, just because it's the most general, and then we can make it more specific when you. So a wronged brother is better than a city of strength, and I think they all translate it as fortified city or fortress city as opposed to city of strength. I think that's just what it is. So let's say then a fortified city. Sounds fancier.
I have a different way you could read the first half.
Yeah.
A brother is wrong from a fortified city, like from the position of a fortified city.
Yeah. I'm hesitant just because I didn't see anyone who translated it that way. So I'm kind of making the assumption that that's not a linguistically right translation, but I guess we can keep it in mind. Yeah, I'd rather not work on that one since when I did this with the Mepharshim, we didn't come up with anything. So, well, maybe that'd be a way to do it then. If we, yeah. All right. So, wrong brothers.
I have like a basic way that you could explain that. But
oh, you have an idea already for that?
yeah,
You're saying.
kind of.
So, would you say your translation one more time?
Brother is wrong from a fortified city.
From a fortified city.
Like the other brother is in the fortified city. And wronging.
That's hard to do, though.
Like shooting arrows.
Yeah, right. Like, how are they interacting with one another?
Well, like meaning he's in a position that's hard to attack.
Right.
Oh, okay.
He's in like a fortified position.
Okay.
Like
Go on.
Back in.
Yeah.
Like something about how he doesn't have any obvious weaknesses or something. I mean, I don't have like a full idea worked out for that.
Yeah.
But like, that's like the.
Okay, I hear. I'm gonna put that on my back burner. You can keep it on your front burner if you want. And yeah. Right. Okay. So let's get the questions out here. And I'm finding and quarrels like a palace bolt, I think. Or yeah, I really don't know actually. I don't know if it's
Quarrels, palace bolt.
Yeah. Okay. So what are the so I guess the first question is, what is this brother situation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, or like blood relatives, like.
Right. Oh yeah. We should also say is
Literal or metaphorical.
Yeah, hold on just a second here. So I'm gonna make those into sub questions here. Okay. What is the meaning of ach here? And then in what way was he wronged? Who wronged who? I guess that's kind of like in what way was he wrong, but like, is it like, because like what Sadigon said, ze mizeh, which kind of seems to imply that there was like a mutual,
Brothership.
or I was gonna say mutual wrongdoing, that they wronged each other.
It sounded to me like there was two brothers and one wronged the other. I think that's how I.
Yeah, you could say that also, right. All right, so I'll just keep it. In what way was he wronged?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What else? Oh, what's the muscle to a fortified city, right? What is the, or not? What's the muscle? What is it?
What is going on?
Yeah. What is it saying about a Kyrios O's in relation to the brotherly wrongdoing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know. Yeah.
Is the quarreling the same as the
Right. Is the quarreling like it's even hard to formulate the questions here, right? What is the relationship between the second half and the first?
Why is it so hard to formulate the question?
Yeah, I mean, what's the relation between the second half and the first half? Meaning, is the second half also describing the same brother situation in the first, right? Or is it different? Yeah, what at least the second half is a straight mushal. It's like what quarrels are like a possible. So what is the mushal of Briach Armon? Yeah. Woo.
Wow.
So where do we begin?
Methodological question about the first half.
Yeah.
Or really general Mishlei question about the first half. So if it's making a comparison between the fact that it's the way that the comparison is structured, the like implicit word is better.
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't say like another possible thing it could be, and I don't think that this view it is like worse.
Oh, right. Yeah. That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah, that I would accept as a possibility, right? I mean, all it's doing is comparing them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So a wrong brother is better / worse than a fortified city, right?
I mean, for anything, it could be like the way I was translating it was like stronger than a fortified city.
Right. So I guess the reason why I'm saying better or worse is because it could be anything, but like the things that it could be are going to be in terms of like better or worse.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, and I do think stronger than is a good way to say it because that's what a fortified city is, right?
That's
yeah.
I mean, I sort of had a little bit of an idea there on the first half that if two brothers like wrong one another, like the damage that does to the relationship will like close them up from each other,
Mm-hmm.
and they're going to be very reluctant to have an open, loving relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So
right.
they're going to be wrong brothers, more closed or more shut than a fortified
right.
city.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely hear that. Yeah, I also, I guess this is one where you kind of have to ask yourself factually whether this is true, but it does seem like sibling rivalries can be way, way, way more intense in many areas than like an ordinary rivalry, I mean, like these partials we're in, we're going to see too. But like, I also have, I mean, like you hear about this all the time, but like I also have, so on both sides of my family, then there are cases like this. So my mom's dad, okay, he had two twin sisters who were the oldest twin sisters in the family. When they were like in their teens, like 15, 16, whatever, they fought over a boy and they never spoke to each other for the rest of their lives until their 80s or 90s.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so that's one case. And then on my dad's side, my dad's father and his, I think, older sister, I don't even know the history, but I guess they also had some sort of falling out. And they also never, either they never spoke in or they only shouted and yelled at each other. And like, she didn't go to his funeral when he died. Like
Wow.
which is like, that's always like a measure of like how intense the feud was. Like, yeah. So like, I'm not saying that that's a proof of this phenomenon, but I feel like it is a thing that like siblings who have falling out, like it could be way, way worse than others.
I was actually thinking the opposite. Not that like that's not true, but
Yeah.
it could also maybe definitely as kids,
Yeah.
maybe even as adults, I don't know exactly, but it could bring the siblings like it's sort of like they're fighting because they feel so comfortable with each other.
Yeah.
And like I guess family in general, but
Yeah.
like, maybe specifically siblings, like they're like they feel like they can fight they can argue with the other person with impunity. So like,
I see.
they kind of,
I hear that. I feel like if we take, I mean, I assume we're taking the brothers as literal for now. I mean, like, unless we're forced not to. And if that's the case, then like, I think you're gonna have to take some route like that of the natural affinity that brothers have for each other, then is going to affect the dynamics of the intensity of their fighting or whatever. Yeah.
I have another way of reading the first half.
Yeah.
Based on that the brother is wrong from while he is within the city of strength, meaning that because he's wronged by another brother, like he felt like he was in a place of like strength, and then wronged like within that, like it wasn't like an external threat.
Yeah, something still bothers me about the way of reading it. I hear the idea, but yeah, I don't know. Yes, when we go through the Mefarshim, I'm very curious to see if we're going to see anyone who reads it that way, like the from, because I don't recall that. The idea you had is making me think of a shot I had on this pasuk many years ago, which I'd forgotten about when I was learning with Ken. So let me try something out here. So so fortified city, you like the plain shroud you can't get in, right? It's like impenetrable. But what's the deal with the Briach Armon?
Yes, I was thinking on like a relative scale, like the whole city is the
relative. Yeah.
That the whole city is the Kiryasos, and the Briach Armon is like the apex of the fortification of the city.
Really interesting.
The city is fortified.
Yeah.
Then the most fortified place in the city is the castle, presumably.
Yeah.
Then of the castle, literally the bolt that shuts the front door.
See, I was thinking the opposite. I was thinking that the bolted door is the one place where you do go in and out of the castle. Like you don't go through the walls, So the interesting thing about the palace bolt is that it, on the one hand, like when it's bolted, then you can't get in at all. Like you were saying, like then it's as secure as everything else, but it's a very, very easy thing to just like unlatch and then let people in, So I was thinking similar along your lines. I don't know if it's the same or not, but like that maybe the reason why and I'm not going to go into depth for the psychological reasons. I'm just going to take it as a phenomenon that when you identify very strongly with someone, that manifests in two ways. Is when there is animosity, it is way, way, way more intense. But the fact that you identify with them strongly gives the potential for like instant reconciliation or like the natural love. Like once you get past that, then that natural love is there. So it's the same thing that is the cause of the impenetrability is also the cause of just unlatching the palace bolt when you reconcile,
Yeah.
Cool. Do you have any examples of that where like when siblings make up from let's say when they have like a strong conflict and then
well, you see it a lot in little kids, right? When you watch like little kids fighting with their siblings, intense hatred and screaming stuff, and then hugging and they're and that's like it's in a childish form, but like those same emotions are still at play when you're an adult. I think the reason why it's more difficult for adults is because adults get their egos caught up in it way more than kids do, and like I can't like reconcile with so and so because like that would be admitting that he was right or something. It's so that's why it's like harder to find examples of reconciliation. But I think so the question is, if we take this approach, then what's the idea? Because this is the phenomenon in the mashal, but what would be the practical idea here, if that's the case? And also, who's it talking to? Is it like advising brothers who are dead, like who are in the quarrelling? By the way I'm translating, I guess, is like a wronged brother is stronger than a fortified city, but their quarreling is like a palace bolt. Meaning that you can that if you unlatch the bolt, then you then you let them in.
Maybe that maybe if you're a third party who wants to resolve this conflict, like let's say you're another sibling or or something,
Yeah.
I mean, not limited to them, but
right.
Then if you can get inside the palace and unlock the bolt, then even though they have this like intense conflict, then where I'd say they're more bristle-y than a fortified city, then if you can unlock the palace bolt, then it'll just like
right. I mean, the third party approach is consistent with what we were saying for the previous pasuk about the lottery, right? Because the lottery is also for a when you're trying to resolve a dispute between two quarreling parties. So that part I like. And then I guess the question is, I just want a clear idea of what this resolution looks like in practice. Like, are you saying that like the key to getting these two, so it looks, in other words, like this. The problem is it looks like these two people will never reconcile because the hatred is so strong.
Yeah.
But the key to reconciling is you have something to your extreme advantage, which is the natural love. And not only is that to your advantage, that is the very cause of the fighting. So like, or the intensity of the fighting. So again, I don't know practically what you need to do, but all you need to do is rekindle that mutual recognition of their natural affection, and then like that would be the way to solve it. But again, I just don't know practically how to do that.
Go through a quarrel.
What do you mean?
Because it says through quarreling is the Briach Harmon. It's almost like it comes through that.
No, I think it's their quarrel is.
Yeah, I was saying their quarrel is like
the
a Briach
quarrel is-
Harmon. Yeah. But I'm curious as to what you're saying. You're saying that the quarreling could cause them to.
Yeah, like I don't know. Sometimes like a small quarrel can like cause them to, like realize the frivolity in what they're doing.
Right. Yeah, I feel like.
I feel like it
I mean,
just
it
adds
seems
fuel to the
unlikely,
fire.
but
Yeah, right. Meaning, I think if you're going to take that approach, then I think you can't take my approach of the Briach Harmon. Then I think that has to be something else,
right.
which is fine. I mean, clearly, like those two translations we saw with Arskol and Living Nach, Arskol saying, "And though they quarrel, they are like a palace bullet." That's like the way I'm saying it, basically, right? Although they quarrel, they are like a palace bullet in the sense that you could just unlatch it. And then Living Nach is saying, "For their quarrel is like the bolt of a palace," which does seem to be saying that their quarreling is the thing that keeps them like apart. Should we look at the Mefarshim and just see like?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, do you like? I'm fine working on it more. I just kind of I'm a little pessimistic. I mean, I think this is a viable approach. I just don't know where to go with it practically. I can't like bring it home right now.
Yeah.
You want to do the Mefarshim? You want to think about it some more? What's the Mefarshim? Okay. All right. So let's look at Metzudas David first. See what he says. I should bring this up on the screen. Hold on. I always forget to do that. Mishlei 18, second half. Don't remember what a PDF is. Hold on. All right, maybe I won't bring it up on the screen. All right. Instead, I'll go to Al Torah. Just 1 second. Stop sharing. Okay, Al Torah. Let's share Al Torah. Okay, Mishlei 18, 19. Mitzudas David says, Ach hanifsha me'echav, a brother who was wronged by his brothers. Mikomakom bevo'o alav tzara yachazik b'ma'oz echav haposhea yosir mikirias o. So when a catastrophe befalls him, he will cling with strength to his brothers who wronged him more than a fortified city. V'hamariva shebenehem lo tasmid. And the quarreling that is between them, the strife that's between them will not last. V'harihu kibriach hamavriach linol share armon, asher lo yasmi lios na'ul. Oh, that's what I was saying, right? So, or that just the muscle part, that their quarreling is not permanent. It's like a briach armon. It's like the bolt of the palace, which linol share armon, that closes the gates of the palace. Asher lo yasmi lios na'ul. It's not going to be closed forever. Ki anashim ravim regilim lavo b'shar armon, because a lot of people go in and out of the palace. So that's saying basically like the reliability at an ace Sarah at a time of catastrophe.
So they're fighting, but when something greater comes, then like they
Right.
fight.
Yeah, this is what they always say about Israel, right? Is that like all of the that all of the terrorist attacks is what keeps all the Jews in Israel united. The fact that like you have all these people who are at each other's throats, but then whenever there's any sort of common threat, then they all like band together. I mean, people say that about like not just Israel, but about anti-Semitism in general. But
yeah, there's a good quote about that. But,
while you're looking for the quote, like, so I think according to that, anyone have an idea of like what the idea would be according to this Metzudas? And I think the key is to contrast it with people who are not brothers. Like, how is this different? Because when it's not brothers, then when they're fighting and something worse happens, then you definitely just don't go cling to those people,
you might have a thought to like backstab your brother when there's like I guess when you have a normal fighting like quarrel with someone, then when a larger like threat comes, you're gonna try to throw your quarreler under the bus,
Mhm.
whatever, like rat them out to the Romans or whatever.
Right. Classic.
But but for your brother, I guess the idea is you would have you might have the same proclivity to do that, but the advice is if you like, there is a possibility in this situation that like you can band together. So if you don't do that, then you're better off, I guess.
See, that's interesting because I was taking it. You're taking it as like a directive that like you should cling to your brother. I was taking him as saying what will naturally happen.
What's the advice then?
Right. That's what I was wondering. I mean, I see the advantage in the way you're taking it. Yeah.
This is an old Bedouin problem.
Ooh.
Me against my brothers and me against my cousins, my brothers and me against strangers.
Nice.
Is that flavor text from a magic card? Sounds like it.
It could.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, because I thought it was saying that like maybe I'm still just caught up on the way I was taking it beforehand, but like that there is in a natural with someone who's not a blood relative, then when something bad happens, the natural instinct is going to be every man for himself. But when you have someone who's a brother, then every man for himself manifests as like taking refuge and helping each other because you view them as an extension of yourself, you know. And again, I'm still not answering the question of like what's the practical ramification, but I was just thinking about that as a phenomenon. And so according to that, I was saying like the you would not be tempted to just throw them under the bus. I don't think that'd be the natural temptation.
Right. Methodology.
Yeah.
Is that normally what you want to do? Like, is Mishlei usually like telling you a phenomenon and you have to figure out what that is, and then you figure out what the advice is after that from the phenomenon?
I mean, it's hard to say usually. Like the one usual thing about Mishlei is it's unusual to directly tell you do this and don't do this. Okay. You know, and I wrote a thing about that once, which I can send you. But so then the question is, since Mishlei is not telling you directly what to do and what not to do, sometimes it's implicit. Let's say when you have the chacham and the fool explicitly in the pasuk, then like you can tell, oh, you should do what the chacham is doing, you know. But then when you have stuff like this, then the question always is it even telling you? Is it even like directing you to a practical thing, or is it just telling you the phenomenon and there are many practical things that you can derive from it, you know? Like, for example, there's a pasuk in Mishlei that says, so I call those in my mind listing psukim, or list psukim, that they tell you the phenomenon and then you can draw out many practical ideas. Oh, we did one earlier. We did the one with the, or I guess kind of, remember the one when it was telling the judge not to take bribes, and it said it's bad for the judge, it's bad for the person who you're, or it was maybe not taking bribes, it was like perverting mishpat. It was bad for the judge, bad for the people you're perverting, bad for the city, bad for the, you know. So there it wasn't telling you, I mean, there it was giving you a directive, which is don't like pervert justice, but it wasn't listing a particular idea. It was just leaving, it was like opening the sugya and letting your mind like figure out, you know, the, what's good or bad about it. Other example, I think the first example of this I came to was like, no, I guess that's also a bad example. The answer is I don't know. The answer is like it's hard to tell in a pasuk like this whether he is directing you to a specific like practical thing or whether you could just draw multiple practical things out of this and Shlomo's not telling you.
Right.
Let's get some others on the table here and then we'll let it percolate. I guess Rבינו Yona. Let's try Rבינו Yona, which you should have there, I guess. So you tell me if anything is different in yours than mine. Ach nifsham mikurios mitnei shavach chalukas hagoral ki hu mashbis midyanim. So since he praised the lottery, this is Rבינו Yona associative juxtaposition interpretations. because it puts to rest quarrels. V'lo yachmod v'lo yachmod, and a person will not covet. V'chalukas nechasim mitzuya ba'achim, and the division of property is common among brothers. Sheholkim b'nachal asavosam, that they divide up the inheritance from their fathers. Amar, he says, Kama yesh al ha'achim lihizahir al hamadon. How important it is for brothers to be careful about strife. Pin yava'u min hamadon el hasina v'ha'eva, lest they come from strife to quarreling and hatred and enmity. V'hine ach poshea u'mored be'echav kasha yoser mikiryas oz. A brother who wrongs and rebels against his brothers is worse than a kiryas oz. Rotalomar ki kasha v'ra al ha'ach kasher yimrod bo echav mi asher yisna'uhu kol anshe kiryas oz. Oh,
That's different.
yeah, what does yours say?
Kikasha bara al kasher yimrod bo achiv me anshe kiryas oz.
Me anshe kiryas oz. Huh, interesting.
What was yours?
Mine is me asher yisna'uhu kol anshe kiryas oz, then being hated by all the members of the city. Yeah, I got to go check the, not now, but when I get home, I have to try to remember to check the other Rבינו Yona I have, which is also a critical edition. Kikarov hanezek lavo misinas ha'ach. Interesting. It's more probable that harm will come from the hatred of a brother. Kihu yodea inyane achav. He knows, like, the characteristics of his brother. Uvame yachol lahaziglo, and how to hurt him. Okay, so that's interesting. I remember doing this with Ken. Nifsha kamo poshea v'chaviro nishba nilcham. Okay, that's just grammatical. So he's saying, so I didn't get the whole thing, but the last part he's saying is that one of the reasons why the brother is worse is your brother knows you very well and knows how to hurt you more. Huh. So according to this, he's saying, what is he saying the practical advice is here?
Make sure to avoid conflict
with your brother. Right. It's an extra cautioning to not to be in conflict with your brother, right? Oh, I didn't read the whole thing. I didn't realize there's more. Umidyanim kivriyach armon. Midyanim asher bein achim kashim v'chazakim kivriyach hasoger dalstos ha'armon. So the quarrels that are between brothers are harsher and stronger than the bolt that closes the doors of the palace. Asher lo yucha ish liftoach hadalasos mibachutz v'lishvor habriach. So that's kind of like what you were saying, Joe, is that it's emphasizing the strength of that people cannot break down the door from outside. Kain lo yuchal limtzo derech liftoach pesach lasim shalom b'neihem. So it's like the opposite of me and the Mitzvahs David. It's impossible to open, right, and to find peace between them. Kisina chazaka b'neihem, because there's a great hatred between them. Ki hamered v'habegida sheyivgot ish be'achiv nogaas ad hanafesh mi begidas ish nachri. Oh, so that's a different point also, because the rebellion and the betrayal that happens when one brother betrays the other reaches the soul way more than a stranger.
So like nip it in the bud before it gets too bad.
Yeah, or don't even let it bud, right? Yeah. So it's interesting because he's saying two things, just to put the emphasis on the last point of each of those paragraphs there. So in the first paragraph, he said, your brother will actually know how to hurt you more. Secondly, psychologically, it hurts more because there's a feeling of betrayal more than a stranger. And I think that also comes from what I was saying is like this is someone who should have love for me. And if they act against me, like then there's a feeling of betrayal. Whereas a stranger, fine. There's no assumption of a chiyuv that they have to like feel any way towards me at all. So like, yeah, if this guy goes and betrays me, so then he's just acting in his own self-interest, you know? Yeah.
So, it seems to me that this is limited to a case where he's willfully wrong. I think if you, or at least in the mind of the
in the mind of the person, yeah.
Because if a person feels wrong by someone, but if a person feels wrong by his brother, but knows that it was not intentional, then you don't have this. Then I think he doesn't have this feeling of betrayal. But when it was like willful, then it's like then it like turns like all of that love to hate.
Right. Yeah, and I do think the point you made though that about it has to do with the perception matters, because like you see, I mean, this happens all the time, right? Is that people have a misunderstanding, and they just posit lots and lots of intentions, onto the other person. Whereas the first point he made is not dependent at all on the cause of the quarreling. It's just like, if he's going to take revenge, he's going to do it really well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So according to this, so at least this has the advantage of being very practicality oriented, right? But it does seem to just be like be careful about, I mean, avoid quarreling in general, but be especially careful about not getting into fights with a sibling because of the damage they'll do and because of the pain that you'll experience.
Yeah. It seems to me this is not limited to a literal brother, but it's anyone
Yeah.
who's really close to you.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Yeah, I think like definitely like spousal fighting can can fall into this category also. Like they really know how to hurt each other, and like because they love each other so much, then it's like a betrayal,
Yeah, I was reading a book recently that like really illustrated this really well.
Mhm.
Like because they loved each other, they
Yeah.
to like really hurt them.
Right. So this is just methodologically here. This is an interesting idea because the nature of the mistake we usually see in Mishlei is like a qualitative mistake where you think that something is going to work one way when really it doesn't. Here it's like almost a quantitative misevaluation that obviously you're going to want to avoid quarrel in general, presumably, but this is saying that you might not realize just how intense and how much pain and this quarrel could cause. So in this area, you can't it's just like it's boosting your awareness of the consequence in this area as an incentive to completely to do everything in your power to not get into the situation of quarreling. It's almost like it flows very nicely from the previous pasuk, from my interpretation of the previous pasuk, that ubein atzumim yafrid was, we said it's people, Sadigan says it's people who are misatmim, who beriv, who strengthen themselves in quarrel, and you should use the lottery preemptively to prevent them from even starting the quarrel, because once they start, they're not going to be able to stop. So this is like a particular within that, which is that you need to take every step possible to make sure that no quarreling erupts between siblings, because once it happens, it could end up being like disastrous. And the other thing also, which he's not saying, but like, let's say he does know how to hurt you and he really hurts you badly. What's going to be the consequence of that? You're going to hate him. You're going to want to hurt him even more. And it's going to be like a cycle of revenge, which is what happens, Yeah.
Yeah. I'd say you said it sounds quantitative.
Yeah.
But I think it is a qualitative phenomenon that when, to use a different muscle, there's like the love that siblings have for each other is like a wellspring of love.
Mm-hmm.
But when you wrong another brother, then that like poisons the wellspring, and
Mm-hmm.
now all of that is like turned to hate.
Yes. Yeah. So, that's a good way to put it. Right. Yeah.
So once you do that, it's like now it's not just hate for the thing you did. It's all of his feelings towards you is turned to hate because of that feeling of betrayal.
Right. Yeah. That goes well with the first interpretation I was saying, of that the cause of the love is the same as the cause of the hate. So it could be, and I think this applies to anyone who you're close to also, is like just the strength of the identification basically with someone could be, is proportional. Like it could lead it's the love is very, very strong, but that reflects the capacity for how deep the hatred can go, and how deep the fighting can go. The reason why I said quantitative is not in terms of the phenomenon. I think the phenomenon is qualitative, but I think the nature of the advice he's giving you is quantitative in terms of like, what would be the mistake is you might treat this in the same way you would treat any other quarrel in terms of how bad it can get. And it's saying it can get way worse than you think. Like, in other words, the wager the person's saying is like, okay, fine. It's like worst comes to worst, like we'll fight and we'll get over it. And this is saying, no, the fighting is gonna be really bad and getting over it is gonna not be very likely,
Yeah, but had different moments also. They also had something that was like that.
Yeah. Also, I think a factor about it is even if it goes the same distance as with a random person, right? With both people, whether it's your brother or a random person, you end up never speaking to them again. That same consequence is much worse with a brother. Yes.
Yeah. That's a good point, right? Because with a stranger, worst comes to worst, you never speak to each other again. But what were you thinking when you said with a brother? Because
maybe it's sad. Like that's your brother who's you're supposed to be together for life.
Right. And I think that is what, in other words, you're always going to be attached to your brother, you know, whether or not you like, whether it's a practical thing of like, you're going to see each other at family events or whatever, or it's just the fact that this person, like if you fought with someone like 5 years ago and then they're out of your life. So they are actually completely out of your life. There is no existing relationship. Whereas with your brother or any family relative, then like it is, the relationship is set in who you are, you know, like it's, you can't like break the relationship, and that's going to like pull you back in or keep it alive in your mind in a different way. Either keep it alive in reality or keep it alive in your mind.
I think one, in terms of the quantitative practical advice.
Yeah.
I think by Maimamukim Divrei Ish Nachal Novea Mikor Chachma.
Yeah.
I was like not properly giving weight to.
Right.
Like,
that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like that.
When you say real in your mind versus real in reality, what do you mean by that?
What I mean by that is that you'll always be, you know that you have a brother who's not speaking to you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's always going to be present in your psyche. Like you're not going to be able to erase that person from your mind. Whereas some, you know, business partner who you fought with and had a falling out with, like, okay, fine. So that's just like, that's in the past, but a brother's in the present. Like I have a brother, you know, like that's, yeah. Alrighty. So let's do this. Let's maybe, I'm gonna maybe between now and tomorrow glance through some more Mepharshim, just see if we can get anything else out of it. If not, we could move on to the next pasuk. Okay. All right. Let's stop
Maybe
for
we
today.
could just like go over this
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Thank you.
Yep.